My name is Lauren McGurk. I am 19 years old. I am a chemistry major here at Stockton with a minor in mathematics. And I'm here today for an interview. I realized I was transgender when I was 19. Last year in October was kind of the aha moment, but it's much more than just a single moment because it was a progression of feelings that I've had my whole life that kind of came to culmination at one point. Me and my friend had a day planned 2 months in advance, and I was going to go over to her apartment and we were going to go out and buy clothing, women's clothing, and I went out, bought women's clothing. It was really stressful, and I went back to her apartment, got dressed, and she did my makeup, and I kind of looked in the mirror and realized why I'd been dealing with all of the feelings that I've been dealing with my whole life, the depression, the anxiety, the self-loathing, and it kind of all came back, and I realized it was my gender that was causing the issues, and it was a really big moment. I ruined a half hour worth of makeup by crying, and that was the big moment. Coming out was kind of an inevitability. From my first day I got to live as a woman, I knew this is right, this is what I need to do, and I'm going to need to do this if I want to be happy with myself. So coming out wasn't like an active decision so much as it was something that became inevitable once I realized what I had to do. From my friends, it was very accepting. Everything went over really smoothly with them. And to be honest, I hinted at being trans my entire life, and my friends were the ones who saw it the most because I was closest with them. I felt comfortable being open with them about it. So they already had a little bit of hints dropped here and there, so it wasn't a big shock to them. My family was very shocked, and the first person I told was my mother, and she was okay. It was, again, a bit of a shock, but the shock turned to disbelief, and then that turned to anger, and then mourning because she was losing her son because I told her that I was going to transition and start living as a woman. And it kind of went through this cycle and just went into a downward spiral of bad things. I came out to the rest of my family, and they did not take it so kindly, eventually leading up to me getting kicked out of my home. I think that transphobia has a huge impact on everyone in the trans community, because it's always prevalent and it's always there. Even if it's not being actively directed towards you, you still walk around with these fears in your head that something can go wrong. Somebody's going to be mean, somebody's going to be nasty, somebody's going to say something that just isn't pleasant, and you're going to have to deal with that in that situation. Particularly, I've been very lucky. I haven't experienced much discrimination outside of my home. I'm in a very good community. I pass rather well, so people don't often question my gender. But there's a lot of other people I know that don't have the privilege of passing as well as I do, and that leads to a whole host of discrimination, from everyday conversations with people to like dirty stares to not being able to use the bathroom in public. And then moreover, in the legal system, everything is done based on sex instead of gender, so there's huge issues there with being trans and dealing with legal proceedings. I feel like it depends on what kind of media you're looking at to get a good view of the trans community. Ideally, you would want to go to everyday trans people and talk to them and see about their experiences, which, social media is great for. There's online communities, there's public support groups, there's events that happen in Philadelphia mainly that I go to that are very trans aware and trans friendly, and you can find a lot of really good information there. And then there's the mainstream media, which I don't really like. I don't like anything about the mainstream media because it portrays more of an advertisement kind of a feel. You know, they're not trying to. I feel like it's much more about putting on a show than it is about getting the information out. And you especially see that with the trans community because it's such a new topic that's being introduced to mainstream culture that getting people interested and observant about it is really difficult without, you know, trying to sell numbers and sell the papers. I've been going to a support group at the Mazzoni Center. It's a LGBTQIA plus friendly group based in Philadelphia, and they offer support groups for trans men, trans women, people of transgender experience, and they've been extremely beneficial just by providing a space that I can open up and be myself before I was confident, and by providing other people who've gone through the same struggles who can share their experiences and allow me to build on their current knowledge and just become more confident overall with what I'm saying and how I'm acting. And especially locking down on my gender and having those people to sit there and affirm and be like, yes, this is okay, this is a thing, this is good for you, has been outstandingly beneficial. I feel like social media and mainstream media can stop transphobic behavior and discrimination by really providing information, accurate accounts of what it's like to live as a transgendered person. And by providing those things, you give people information, which I feel is the majority of what's lacking. I guess I'm kind of an optimist. I don't believe that anybody can walk around with just sheer hatred for somebody, and I've found in my experiences normally that comes out of either ignorance or misinformation. So by providing these outlets with accurate information and accurate accounts, you'll get people to realize, hey, this isn't some voodoo taboo thing. It's just people trying to live the best way that they know how. Ideally, if I could speak to a younger me, I would tell her that it's okay. And probably the most important thing I would say is research. Do research, learn about it, learn the terminology associated with gender dysphoria, because that was the thing that held me back from recognizing, being able to articulate that I was trans. And if I was able to do that, I would have been in a much better place much sooner in my life. So she really needed to hear the information that I have now to be able to articulate it and move through with transition. To talk about what I would advise other people to do without support groups, number one would be, again, to research. Talk to mental health professionals, they are your friends, and you really need to find somebody, friends, family, support groups, anyone that you can talk to get a hold of, to be supportive, to be there for you, because it's extremely difficult to go through transition. It is extremely difficult to live with gender dysphoria, and it's not something that, not something that should be taken lightly. It's something that you can get help for and something that you should get help for, and the resources are there and available. Stockton University has been an outstanding player in my transition from when I began here last semester, my first year, and I had counselors in the Women's Gender and Sexuality Center, which have helped me tremendously. People at the Stockton Pride Alliance have been outstanding. I really can't say enough good things about Stockton. It's an extremely trans progressive school. Ideally, the trans community would evolve into something more noticeable, more present, and from that presence and notability would come the rights that we need, bathroom rights, not being discriminated against in healthcare for surgeries or hormones or any other type of mental health that we need to be addressed. Personally, I don't know, I just see myself as a normal woman earning my degree, going into my field and having a good life. would like to thank the Stockton community for being so accepting and providing me with the space to kind of come into the second adolescence and learn how to be a woman in such a friendly and welcoming environment. It's been a phenomenal experience here.